you're no stranger to Boise State. Everybody knows that. And even in recent history, you go way back. So what has it been like since you've been back and now that you're actually starting some practices? Does it all seem very familiar and what's changed?
You know what it does? I mean, number one, the the people here and being able to come back to the type of people that are at Boise State, not only the players, the staff, and all the different umbrellas that help make this thing go, whether it be in the training room, the video, the equipment, all that stuff. It's fun to be back around all these people. Obviously, the players, I would say about half of them were here when I was here previously. And then getting to know the rest and building the relationships over the last month and a half has been a blast. And so now to bring it all together with the new coaching staff here, there is new people here, and that part is new. The environment we are trying to create, we're building off what our traditions have what our traditions have been and what have allowed us to be successful, but adding in some new things as well, and some things that the players wanted to adjust, some things that people in this building wanted to adjust. So there is a lot of new things going on. Everybody's pretty energized about it, but you know what it is. You get into the first month and a half, the second month, it's about keeping that energy going and that focus on what we're trying to do.
What are those little small tweaks, those small things you're trying to change, whether it's on the field or off the field and X's and O's?
Well, I think number one, off the field, how we engage in each other, how we get to know each other. We're people first. And then we're just unbelievably fortunate to be a part of this game, not only be a part of this game, but be a part of this football program in particular in this university. But we always got to keep that in perspective that we're people first. So being able to spend time with each other off the field and do different things. And then obviously it'll give us a better understanding of who we are and how we can be better here. And so I think that's a big piece of what we're doing. And then go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when it comes to the X's and O's, what do you guys want to be known as, offensively? There's been so many, offensive minded coaches that have been the head coaches there. Obviously, you bring a defensive mindset there, but what are you going to try and accomplish offensively?
An offense that number one is explosive, but yet precise, not explosive and, kind of all over the place. We want to be precise with what we're doing. We want to be very detailed. We want the guys to play very loose. We don't want a lot of restrictions. We don't want a lot of thinking on them. We want them to be able to go get out on the field, communicate, have fun executing and finishing. And that's the big thing that we're emphasizing right now. And that becomes on us as teachers, first and foremost, about, how we engage them in the meeting room and teach them what we're doing, how clear and concise these progressions are. And through those things, we'll be able to build a mentality starting with confidence and then leading to a humble, and hungry mentality that they're going to play with.
You come back to Boise State. I mean, it's a national brand. We all know that now, but it's a brand that and when it was under Chris Peterson, it was at its height, finishing number 4 in the nation. We all know the Fiesta Bowls and all that and beating OU. And then I know you were part of a Fiesta Bowl win, but we've seen it kind of downtick for what we're accustomed to seeing, which is like top 10, top 15 Boise State to borderline top 25 to maybe not being in the top 25 at the end of the year. How close is Boise State to getting back to what we've seen and being a top 10 up team, and then maybe also being a group of 5 program that could be the first to make it to the playoff again?
Well, I think number one, our priority right now is to continue to grow this environment in a manner that we all are invested in so that we can grow to the things that we're talking about. And what we definitely have the people here, whether it be coaches, staff members, and obviously players to achieve these goals. It's about how we prepare ourselves for these things. Again, how we take things from the past that have allowed us to be successful, if it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and now how we combine and align those with some new ideas to help push us forward. I mean, that's the big push right now, and making sure everybody's on the same page and we're communicating and again working together.
Just for you personally, what's it like being a first-time head coach and then going into your first spring? You built your first staff, but now you're in spring practices. What surprised you about being a head coach? I know a lot of people, a lot of, you've been around a lot of Boise State folks and legends, but what surprised you so far about having to lead your own program?
Was, of course, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's more moving parts than just being responsible for the defense, and bringing all those moving parts together and making sure that not so much that it surprised me, but you can understand bringing that many people together on the same page, making sure everybody's heard, so that everybody's invested, and so that we can all move forward to grow this thing. That's where it takes a lot of organization, forethought, so that we're not reacting to the things. We can be proactive. We want to be innovating. We want to be out in front. Well, that takes a lot of spending time sitting down together and working through those things. And so, from a staff standpoint, the number of people that we're collaborating now is obviously different. From a player standpoint, much as well, in all aspects. The community, right? We've always been a big part of this community, but even much more so now, in how we show appreciation to the people that have helped us get to where we're at, and obviously the people that are going to help us get to where we're going.
I've been around a lot of college football programs through the years, just traveling, and all of them are different in some ways, but most of them are alike. I've never been to Boise State. I've never been to Boise. Obviously, a lot of people would be in the same boat, the majority of college football fans. But you've coached at Oregon, you've coached at other places, you've been on the West Coast. What's different about Boise specifically that stands out to you?
The community here. It's a community. That's what it is. And we talk about bleed blue and what that means. That not only means something to this university, to this football program, but that means something to this community. It's one of the largest growing cities in the nation. This area is thriving. It's growing. And we don't want to lose. We'll never lose that community passion, our passion for the community and how we grow together. And we're at a perfect stage right now where, again, our this area, this valley, the Treasure Valley, is growing rapidly, and we want to grow right there with it, and we're going to do it together. And that's what's different. There's not a lot of it's not a small college town. It is a big city, but again, we still have that feel.
Obviously you have a lot of connections to Boise State, and I'm sure you've talked to Chris Peterson, Dirk, all those guys. What has been the common message? Has there been a common message among them? And do you want them hanging around the program? Do you want them to be jumping in and throwing in ideas here and there?
Of course. We talked to Coach Cutter and said, I know you're cleaning out that locker, but bring your whistle with you, because you're going to need that. We're going to need you to jump out there, and those are obviously Dirk Cutter recruited me, played while Coach Pete was the OC here, and then worked for him and those things. So even through this and through the course of my career, working up to this point, I've always relied on those guys for advice, whether it be personal, professional, how to do things better in all aspects of my life. And so that's not going to stop now, and we look forward to having them a part of this. That's part of our tradition here, is making sure they're a part of our brotherhood. Those guys have led our brotherhood. And so we will lean on them. We have leaned on them, and will continue to do so.
There's always been this national conversation, I would guess say an undercurrent, about how the group of 5 teams, they've just been blocked out of the playoff. We saw it recently with Cincinnati this past season, despite being undefeated. And with what Boise State has done in the past and knocking off the quote unquote blue bloods and the big boys and finishing the top 5 nationally before in this past, can you get Boise State at some point in your career there into the playoff and kind of burst through that glass ceiling that everybody keeps talking about?
Our expectations and standards here are very high, and we're always focusing on the immediate and what's now and what we can control. And the things that are out of our control, we're not going to focus on. We're not going to put those as a priority. But I think to answer your question, through consistency, someone is going to do that. One of the group of 5 teams, it takes consistency. And that's what happened. If you follow the traditions and the history of Boise State being able to get into certain games that were thought of a group of 5s back then, not much, they weren't labeled as that, but it took consistency of how you played, how you operated, who you played against, and we can build that. We can build that consistency. We're working towards having that consistency, and that's what we're going to focus on. And after that, we don't control that. We will let the rest happen, and we will work to put ourselves in the best opportunities as possible.